Hello. I'm slightly hiding. I've come in here, I'm cleaning the carpets, as you do, and I've run out of carpet shampoo, so I've come in here to order some. But I've actually also come in here because nobody knows I'm in here, so they won't look for me. Yay! So, what we need to talk about today is the big C word. Christmas, and the fact that we can't afford it. How do I know that we can't afford it? Well, you may have noticed some of the adverts on the telly. Sorry, the camera's moving. It's because the dogs are lying on the bottom wagging their tails. And stop it! They don't listen to a word I say. So the adverts are coming out, and we all wait for the adverts, don't we? You know, it's the countdown to the John Lewis advert, the countdown to the Marks and Spencer's advert, the countdown to whatever Colin the Carrot's doing for Christmas with Aldi. But we've hit the ground running with ASDA. So ASDA have got the Grinch out, and they've told us what we already knew: we can't afford Christmas. Yep, that's the state of the nation right now. We cannot afford Christmas. And so ASDA have gone all green about it, as in like it's their colours, and they've got the Grinch out, and the Grinch has told us, no, there are no presents, we have no money. Now, of course, it's a little bit of a play on them, but if you come to ASDA, you may be able to afford Christmas. And everywhere's telling us that we can afford Christmas over 6 easy payments, over 6 easy months, because we're now being told that Klarna will give us Christmas, PayPal Credit will give us Christmas. Everything will give us Christmas other than our own bank accounts, because we have no money in it, because our money has been taken by Rachel Reeves. I doubt she can afford Christmas this year either, because she'll have a whopping great fine to pay, although apparently not. Anyway, ASDA telling us that we can't afford Christmas, I think, is a real sorry state of affairs. That it is the season to be, insert the word, it used to be jolly, now it's skint. And the very fact that our supermarkets are now bestowing tidings of no money, I think tells us everything we need to know about where we are economically. Rachel Reeves has indeed gone faster and further into the massive great black hole that she's put us in. So we can't afford Christmas, and the other thing that we can't afford, turns out, is education. So Bridget Phillipson told us that by adding 20% VAT onto the independent sector, the state sector would be rebranded and relaunched into this wonderful thing where no one would ever need to go anywhere other than state education again, even if you wanted to. I mean, just ignore that sort of inconvenient truth. You would never need to go anywhere else because state education was going to be great. State is great. A little bit like Andrew Lloyd Webber said on Starlight Express, freight is great, well, state is great. And you can have that tagline for free. So state is great, and we're going to have all of this lovely money from those posh rich people who have got broad shoulders and they can absorb it and the schools can absorb it. Well, obviously, fast forward, it didn't happen, did it? So the schools couldn't absorb it, and nor could the parents with the broad shoulders, because it turns out the parents with the broad shoulders are in the state system already. So we have no lovely big pot of VAT money, but what we do have is 25,000 extra kids in the state system. Now that's awkward, isn't it? Because she said that wasn't going to happen, and that has happened. We don't know exactly how many because we've stopped counting after September, because that was the other convenient thing that Labour did. You can chart this from January to September, then we're not going to bother after that. There's no point, is there? We know it's been a success, said no one ever. What they actually meant was, we're never going to tell the truth. We just wanted to do it because it was a spiteful ideology, and we were going to draw you in by telling you it was those horrible rich people that were going to pay for all the poor kids. Yeah, bollocks. It didn't happen. So we don't have the 6,500 teachers that we were promised. We don't have any of the resources that we were promised. In fact, the really awkward thing is we've gone backwards. So schools have got less money. And the reason they've got less money is because their budget has not grown in line with inflation. So if they want to have the 6.5% pay rise over the next 3 years, they're going to have to take it out of their core budget. So Bridget Phillipson says, well, you can find lots of ways that you can cut costs. You can do that. It's really easy. Hang on a minute. Were we not putting VAT onto independent education so that we could fill that gap that was impossible for the state system to fill because there were no other cuts they could make? Wasn't that what it was? I mean, weren't we told the story that it was so unfair that so many children were having an education that was being paid for by their parents, and they weren't actually having the education that their parents were paying for on the state? But it was so unfair that they could have that because state was in such a terrible mess, and there was no possible way state could have any money from anywhere other than the independent sector. So we were told that this was going to fix it. But hang on a minute, it hasn't fixed it. But state is somewhere where you would really want to send your children to. And, whilst we're at it, we're not going to give you any more money. You didn't get any more money. And we're going to ask you to spend more money that you don't have on a system that is crumbling because we said so. No, it doesn't add up, does it? I mean, obviously, I know Rachel Reeves was behind the maths, so you knew it wasn't going to add up. I knew it wasn't going to add up. Bridget Phillipson knew it wasn't going to add up, but she didn't care, did she? Because it wasn't about the kids. So she's now telling the teachers that they've got to fund their own pay rises, which effectively means that they're not going to have a pay rise, doesn't it? Because you wouldn't fund your own pay rise when you could see that it was taking away from kids. So teachers, being vocational, won't do that. So the teachers aren't going to get a pay raise, so they're not going to want to stay in teaching, so they're going to leave teaching. Oh, they already are leaving teaching, that's right, but we've got more children to teach now, because the schools that were teaching and were doing okay, they're closing and they're going into the state system. The schools that were just about keeping their head above water in the state system are now drowning because they've got more children than they know what to do with. The teachers that they said would come from independent into state, no, they won't, because they don't have the qualifications that they need, and they're not going to retrain, are they, for peanuts? Because who would retrain for peanuts? Not even a monkey. So the state system has imploded. The independent system has imploded. This wonderful thing that we used to have, the Great British Education, is no longer the Great British Education. In fact, it is like a fart in a lift. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to go near it. Everybody's avoiding it. So the people that were in the independent sector that have still got some money, they're going abroad. They're taking their money and their kids, over into Italy or anywhere else that will take them, but not here. And the kids that are left here, well, they've got a really shit education now for everyone. It was shit for a few. Now it's shit for everyone. And have we got any ideas about how we're going to make it better? Well, we'll probably tax our way out. Oh, we can't tax our way out of it because there's no one left to tax. Now the unions aren't liking this. They're not liking the fact that there's no money, and they're very much not liking the fact that 8-year-olds are going to have reading tests. And they're saying, no, we don't like this. You haven't listened to a word we've said, Bridget. You don't understand children. You don't understand teaching. You don't understand growth and development. You don't understand anything. And so now we're going to start falling out with you. Now it's interesting because I remember back in January and back in September and back when they said that they were going to put VAT on education, and back in July 2024, I said Bridget Phillipson doesn't care about children. And so many people turned around and went, oh, you're just saying that because you've got to pay VAT on education. You're just being so po-faced about this. You're just being so bitter because you don't want to pay. Smallest violin, shut up and pay up. Oh, look at you, the rich kids. I mean, we've been called every name under the sun. And it was almost impossible for anyone to turn around and go, oh, you're doing this because you care about kids. Oh, yeah, there you go. That light bulb. Yeah, I do. I care about all kids. I don't care about just the 93%. I care about the 100% of children that deserve whatever chance we can give them. And Bridget Phillipson does not. And why do I say that Bridget Phillipson does not? Well, the reason I say that Bridget Phillipson does not is because she acts against them. She does absolutely everything in her power to make it harder for children. We've got rid of IB. We've got rid of maths programmes. We've got rid of Latin programmes. We've got rid of schools. I mean, it doesn't get much worse, does it, than schools closing on the Education Secretary's watch. You would have thought that as Education Secretary, you would have embraced education in any single form possible. If it was going to be a good quality education, you would embrace it, you would learn from it, you would try and develop it so that all education were as good as some of the pockets. No, Bridget didn't. So she's ground it into the ground. Free breakfasts, they're not free. They're taxpayer funded breakfasts and they're full of sugar. They're crap. Now, we can't say that they're not crap anymore because the government is bringing in plans to outlaw sugar for children. So we're outlawing orange juice, we're outlawing jam, and we're outlawing white bread and all of those things. But hang on a minute, and cereals. What are we feeding our children in our free breakfasts? Which our free breakfasts will change their life. They will give them better chances in life and better outcomes in life because they've had a free breakfast. But what we're serving them for their free breakfast is what we're trying to outlaw because we don't think that will give them a good outcome in life. But we said it would, and now we're saying it won't. But it doesn't really matter because it doesn't apply to us because we're Labour and we can do what the hell we want. So do we give them the free breakfast that isn't free, that's being paid for by the taxpayer? Or do we go back, cap in hand, to all of the charities that were giving the breakfast, that were giving actual nutritional breakfasts? Do we go back, cap in hand, and say, we're really sorry we cocked up there, like massive cock up. Would you come back and give us like nice breakfasts again? Or do we say, do you know what? We've reached ground zero. Let's press the reset button and let's listen to some actual experts in childcare, in education, in business and in growth. Shall we do that? Well, I mean, that would make sense, wouldn't it? But not our Labour government. No. They're too busy digging a hole for us all to go in. And we know we're going in that hole because ASDA have told us we've got no money for Christmas. And our Christmas good cheer is coming from the Grinch. And I think that just about says it all.